your involvement with the Outdoorsmans in Phoenix. I believe they've been a sponsor of yours for quite a while. How has working with the Outdoorsmen and their products, in your mind, has it made you a better hunter, or how has it changed your style of hunting, say, before you even heard of the Outdoorsmen?
Yeah, it's funny. I tell this story often about this. I don't know how it came about, but I got on their mailing list years ago. Western Hunter magazine is very closely tied in and affiliated with Outdoorsmen, and I remember looking through that magazine and seeing these dudes sitting out in the desert with binoculars on a tripod, which at the time I had never seen before. I had, like, 10 years ago, I didn't know about doing that. And I remember thinking, like, what in the hell are those guys looking for? Out in that desert.
Yeah.
And why having your binoculars on a tripod? And after seeing that, I got real curious about it. And it was the guys at Outdoorsman, Floyd Green and Chris Denham and Cody Nelson. We've just, opened up a correspondence, and they sent me an adapter and a tripod. They sent me a tripod and an adapter to where I could put my knockers, a pair of Vortex knockers, onto a tripod, because they make all these different adapters. So you just tell them what binoculars you like to run, and they figure out how to pair you up with a tripod. When you're sitting there, like everybody sits, where you sit on your butt, you got your knees up, you got your elbows on your knees, and you're trying as hard as you can to stabilize yourself, right? So you got your feet on the ground, so your knees are solid. You got your elbows on your knees, so your hands are solid, and you got those binoculars buried into your face, into your eye sockets, to try to, like, all these points of contact, and you think, like, man, I'm solid, I can really see, but you don't realize how much movement is there.
Yeah.
And so the minute you take out all that, like, breathing and all that kind of garbage that's moving your stuff, and you have it be absolutely stationary, like what you're looking through is stationary, the movement that you detect that was camouflaged by your own movements just jumps out at you. And not only that, so you, like you said, like picking up just like flicks of ears, movements of feet, just any little thing you're picking up. Also, just like the amount of detail that opens up. And I remember the first time I ever sat with, I went out, and I was funny because I was trying, the first time I ever hunted coos deer, I drew a tag, not a hard to draw tag, like a undersubscribed coos deer tag in Arizona. The first day I ever spent glassing for coos deer, I spent it with Cody Nelson, and we're sitting down there with the tripod rig ups, and it was killing me because I've always taken it for granted that like I have a good game eye, and I think a good game eye is something that you develop, right? I don't think
it's trained, for sure.
You can have good eyesight, right? But a lot of people have good eyesight. If you got poor eyesight and you don't correct it with contacts or glasses or whatever, it's like you're probably never gonna get there. But you could have pretty fair eyesight and spot more game than a guy with good eyesight by knowing what you're doing, knowing what you're looking for. And you're not just looking for animals, but you're looking for patterns and shapes and colors and whole animals sometimes, and like movement and things that seem out of place and things that just spark a memory about the way antler looks in the sun. You know what I mean? It's like you can't even begin to explain it all. But I've always taken for granted I have a good game eye. And Cody's spotting deer, coos deer, that he can't even walk me into. And I'm telling you, glassing, like with that setup, tripod, binoculars for coos deer, and then sitting there looking at a hillside all day, and then 6-7 hours into the day, seeing a buck that's laying there eye level with you in what all of a sudden seems like plain sight, and you realize that he's been there all day and you didn't notice him.
Whole time, yeah.
It changes your entire perspective on looking for animals. And I don't care where you hunt or whatever, you sit there and you realize it does not suffice to just stop and stand there and take a quick scan with your binoculars and then move on because there aren't any elk, sheep, whatever that you had to be looking for. You do not know what's there from having a quick scan.
Right.
You need to pick land apart. And from hunting coos deer, I learned, man, and I take it to every kind of hunting I do, that that when you see what it requires to hide a deer, and you think about every kind of thing you've ever looked for, it's like you realize you have to put in your time and study that ground because you miss so much, you know.